Hello everybody and welcome to Destructivator 2. Apparently there's a Destructivator 1, I have not played it, but today I am going to be taking a look into its sequel, which you would hope would improve on the first, and by God I hope it did, because this was surprisingly quite disappointing, really. But before we go into that, this game was developed by a company known as Pug Fugly Games. Wonderful. Lovely. And is described as being a hint of Lode Runner, a dash of Contra, and a clear the screen mentality of games from days gone by. Now, that is quite true. The only problem being that it's not that engaging, but we'll go into that in a moment. Let's have a look at those options. Yes, it's one of those very, very basic option screens where you have music options, sound effects, screen shake, and so on. So, there we go. However, there are also accessibility options, which I don't know why they're on the option screen. Game speeds and backgrounds, percentages. I'm not even sure what that does. But it does something. And a separate control thing. All of that could have gone under options and been fine, but they wanted to do it a bit differently for some reason. Anyway, I've been playing this for a few hours now. And I've gotten through the first zone, which is, you know, surprisingly okay. Tell you what, let's just go through a few of those missions and show you what this game is. So, here we are. With this little green guy at the bottom, running around and shooting. As you would expect, general nature of these sorts of games. Now, first things first, reading the game's description, I did not expect this to all take place within a single box. I expected it to be something more in the line of Contra, where you had a longer range of screens and just a wider environment to explore. That is not the case. You are trapped in on a tiny box, shooting a lot of the same tiny, absolutely minuscule pixelated forms. Which, first of all, is an incredibly unusual move. I feel like this would have been much better served to have, first of all, a closer-up camera so you could actually see details of the character sprite, of which there aren't any, of course, because of how far away the camera is. But, yeah, if you're going for something like Contra, as was stated in the introduction, you would expect to have a bit of a closer look at who you're playing as. But there we go. It's very by the books, I'll say that much for it. There's not that much unique about it. It's a basic run and gun. It plays like a generic run and gun, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but you can get through it without much trouble. At least on the easy mode, which quite frankly feels more like a normal mode. Which, to be honest, yeah, that's the only bit of this that feels more like a general Contra, or in fact, a send-up to the older games. So there we go. Including these swarms of enemies, which actually are probably the most engaging part of this, to be honest, and that's not necessarily a good thing. But, oh well, there we go. Does it control well? Kind of. The jump's very floaty, which I don't mind. You have the slight disadvantage of being stuck into aiming a single direction once you've started firing, which is quite disappointing. But, you know, it's okay. There are multiple playstyles in this, thank God, because quite frankly, if I would have had to have stuck to this gameplay style, I would not have enjoyed it as much as I have done some of the other styles which are in this game. For, of course, it does have some more generic vehicle-based sections, which we'll have a look at in a moment. But yes, it's a perfectly serviceable game. Quite frankly, that's, you know, it's nothing special, but it's also not awful either. I don't consider it a necessarily awful game. I just think it's somewhat uninspired. It feels very much like a cheap Steam game. And, of course, there are many, many, many of those around. But, I don't know. Let's just keep going through the levels. So, yeah, as I say, the difficulty of the easy mode feels much more like a normal mode to me, which is to be expected from a game trying to send up the old Contra gameplay and that sort of thing in general. Which, as I say, not necessarily a bad thing, but not really great either. It's stuck in the past, but not in a good nostalgic way. It's more in a sort of, we've seen this before multiple times, and there's not really any innovation in it. In saying that, the models are relatively nice. More so the enemy ones. The player characters and the enemies that you fight are not detailed enough to be interesting. I mean, literally walking around as a guy who is literally squares with very little textured detail. And you can sort of see the same of the enemies as well. It's predominantly disappointing. I thought that this game would be much more than it ended up being. There we go. Tell you what, I'm not doing bad for health. Let's just keep going. There we are. But yeah, it's very much what you would expect by looking at it in a way, but not what you would hope it would be from reading a description. I would personally have loved this to have been a proper side-scrolling shoot-'em-up. I feel like that would have worked much better for this style of game. Something where you could actually, you know, have good character design, which unfortunately this just isn't. And it's such a shame. I feel like just, I don't know, zooming in a bit, making the areas bigger. There is, I don't know, I don't like the way the camera works in this game. I don't like how far away it is from the character at any time. I mean, I suppose it's somewhat useful. Ah, here's one of the vehicles. Okay, so there are a couple of different vehicles you can have throughout the game. So far, I have found this, which shoots downwards, and then you get a jet later on, which shoots side to side, which, you know, it's different. It's much better than the regular gameplay is. So I don't mind these sections that much, actually. Or at least this one in particular. The jet I found to be a bit more frustrating. Because it has the same issues as the regular combat does. I.e. that you can only shoot in a set direction and you can't move from that direction to dodge while shooting. Which is incredibly disappointing because that was one of the best things about games like Contra and the old Mega Mans, in fact. Which I feel like this game has elements of as well. Especially in the backgrounds, which admittedly are really nicely designed. I do like the backgrounds for this game. There we are. Oh dear. Not doing too well on this one. But it does add in a solid level of difficulty, which is very much appreciated. Right, there we are. Oh, come on, let's get these ones. Lovely. But it's not all in all a bad experience. It's just, I don't know. Sort of been there, done that many, many times in the past. I don't feel as if this game does enough to innovate the genre. If anything. I mean, this whole section is pretty good. I like the look of the pod as well. It is a nicely designed thing, and it plays well. It controls better than most of the other vehicles, in fact. But there we are. I don't know. It's fine. The problem is, I want to say more, but there's not much you can say about a game which has been released multiple times in multiple ways, just with a different coat of paint on it. And that is effectively what this is. It's the same old run and gun gameplay, but done in not even a new coat of paint. I would say it's a much more basic coat of paint, and that doesn't really serve it that well. It could have been so much more unique if the foreground and the characters had as much time and effort put into it as the backgrounds, and I just don't think that effort is there. I mean, I suppose it does help to sort of separate them from the background, but even then, it's not great. It really isn't. But there we go. Just 3 enemies left. Okay. But I don't want to shit on this game a lot, to be honest, because it's got some good elements. It's got some interesting bits to it. They're just very few and far between. I don't know. It feels just like an arcade shoot-'em-up. The problem is, though, we're now at a point where arcade gameplay, I feel, although it does certainly have its place in the gaming landscape, is not as interesting as it once was. I mean, after so long, how could it be? But there we go. Ah, damn. But yeah. This is actually something which I could imagine doing well on maybe the 3DS. Or even the old Xbox 360 Live when that was... When Xbox Live first started, this is the sort of thing I could imagine being sold on there. But I don't know. It just... It feels like a game that's come far too late for the genre. Like, it could have done better maybe 5 years ago. I dare say more. It's just very disappointing. I don't know. I was hoping for more from this, and it didn't deliver. Which is, quite frankly, the biggest shame. It really is. Right, tell you what, let's... I'm probably going to fail this one, which is a bit of a shame. Right. There we go. At least the enemies do have different configurations for weapon fire. If they hadn't, I would not be as kind to this game as I have been. I would be incredibly frustrated if that were the case. Right, there we go. And this is the sort of stuff that reminds me a bit more of Mega Man. The sort of ladder climbing, shooting segment. There we go. It's actually pretty good action platforming controls. It controls well. I don't know. I think I'm just not a fan of the play style. Or, unfortunately, a lot of the main concepts. Which, as I say, is very, very much a shame. There we go. Oh. Well. I fucked up there, didn't I? Right. Moving right along. Come on. Right, that's going to activate that one. Lovely. And now we can go back up. Good. There we are. But yeah, the whole concept of just clearing the screen to get to the next level, it's fine. It just... Oh. There we go. It's fine. Right. I am on my last life, which is quite disappointing, but oh well. There we go. I don't know. It's a very basic game. I think that's its problem. I could imagine this, I don't know, maybe even as a Metal Slug sort of title with some more visually interesting components in the character design. I don't know why. That's just really the thing I hate most about it. It's just not visually appealing to me. The backgrounds are. The backgrounds are fine. It's just everything in the foreground, which I sort of, you know, can't stand. And it's such a shame. It's such a shame because it does play well. Oh dear. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm starting to get a bit tired of the pixel aesthetic. I never would have thought it, but yeah. There have been a lot of games like this released, so I just don't think this one does enough to set itself apart from any others. And that is a shame. Because as I say, the people behind us obviously know how to make a game that plays well. Because that is the thing this game does excellently. And it's just so damn frustrating. Oh dear. Also as well, I know it's trying to simulate the feeling of a NES shoot 'em up with the sort of not even 8 direction, 5 direction. Yeah, 5 direction shooting. I just feel like that's one of the innovations that the genre needs. You need to have the additional motion because that's a step forward. It improved the genre in general. It didn't hold it back, which going back to the older control methods does. But yeah, that's pretty much the only control focused criticism I've had of it so far. Come on, there we go. Also, I do like that you can actually just walk into enemies to kill them. That's good. That's something I don't mind. There we are. I will say though, the difficulty on normal mode on this, actually did defeat me a few times. I only managed to get through 2 levels on it, so that was fair enough. It does provide a challenge if you like challenging gameplay. So that is another thing in its favour. Personally, that's not something I enjoy too much. I always enjoy going on a sort of more normal difficulty, even in the old NES games. There we go. Oh, also, you can't jump and shoot upwards, which is infuriating. Because that would have been something that would have been incredibly useful. But oh well. Right, there we go. Come on. But you know what? In terms of some games I've played recently, it's... I don't know. Actually, no. It is on the lower side of games I've played recently. But of general releases I've tried out, it's okay. It's fine. I wish I had more to say, but it's a generic shoot 'em up, and that's all it can ever be. Right. Let's see. Let's take them on. There we go. One more. There we go. Easy. Lovely. On easy mode, I feel like it has a legitimate difficulty. Right. Now to show off the jet gameplay. Oh, joy. So, first of all, it has the same problem as regular gameplay where you cannot move while shooting, which is incredibly infuriating, especially when you get stuff like this and just want to be able to go around them and shoot from the other side. But you can't. If you turn around, you just back up, which is really, really awkward. Now, I get it's better for strafing and stuff like that, but I feel like there should be a way to add in a method by which you can just press a button in order to strafe and not have strafing be the default. Because that's just, in my opinion, poor design. Because if you want to go around the back of the enemy and try and shoot them from behind whilst they're still aiming at you predominantly from the front, and by extension adding a bit of time to yourself so you can get in the hits properly, it doesn't really allow you to do that, which is bizarre, and I've already lost 2 lives because of it. But there we go. I feel like the jet is the part which controls the worst, the absolute worst out of all of the gameplay modes in this. There we go. Okay. Now, was there another one coming from here? I could have sworn I saw a couple of blasts go this way. No, okay, never mind. Right. Also, it does show you how many enemies are remaining, which is useful. But again, that's just a generic thing. You get that in a ton of games, so I don't know. I feel arena, well, not even arena. The sort of run and gun aspect of this is slightly subdued by the need to kill all of the enemies. I don't know. It's another thing that just came to mind. The ability to simply go on and defeat not even all the enemies, just to get to the end of a level, I think is one of the joys of Contra. Just trying to get to the end of a level without even having to kill everything. You do anyway, because it's Contra, but you never have to, if I remember rightly. Admittedly, it has been ages since I played Contra. There we go. Right, 13 enemies remaining. Lovely. And that's the end point. You see what I mean? That's the end point. And I've missed some enemies, so now I have to go back. Right. Where did I miss them from then? Ah, in here, of course. Right, in which case, let's go inside. Oh, damn. More of them. Okay. That is not going to go well. Is that all of them? Lovely. And there are more here. There we are. Right, and we've got more. And again, it's just... I don't find it enjoyable, really. But there we are. Right, so I failed at that. which is a pain in the ass, but oh well. Right, so let's exit that. As well as that, there are boss stages at the end of each row. So let's go and have a quick look at those before we finish off. You've effectively seen what this game has to offer, at least in the beginning. I don't know. I don't feel like I want to go back and try out the other levels, to be honest. And that is a huge problem in a game like this. To have made a game that I do not want to actually keep playing. I don't know. It's kind of an achievement, really. Oh. Ah, come on. We might have to have a second go at this, but yeah. There's not actually much build up to the boss. They're just sort of there. And then you start fighting them. Oh, there we go. I mean, I suppose there's something there for people who want to get the high score and all that. Well, not even a high score, just get more stars and more ranks and all of that. There's something there for those people. But that's not me. That's, you know, that's not the kind of gameplay I like. It's... Oh, come on. Well, there's Death 1. Lovely. Now, I do appreciate that I am not very good at these games. Which, you know, normally isn't a huge problem. Oh, come on. But either way, I don't know. I can't find myself wanting to play more of this game. It's one of those ones where I've beaten the first world and think, okay, that was something I did, but I don't really want to do it again. There we go. Oh, so close. Right, screw it. There we go. Just consider that boss beaten, then you go on to another world and so on and so on and so on. There are different difficulties and all that, and they're fair enough. Now, it says 23 out of 270. That is for all three differences, which means it's 90 levels, which you would have to complete. Well, 90 levels you'd have to complete 3 times each for each difficulty. So there we are. This game is a very interesting one in a way. I don't know. That's an interesting point. 270 and there are only 54 levels. Right, okay, that's the star total. Okay, that makes more sense now. Anyway. There, I don't know, it's... Small characters on big screens for that classic 80s feel is what they say on the page. I feel as if that's somewhat of a misnomer. I feel as if 80s games weren't just that. It feels like a sheep in wolf's clothing, so to speak. It's trying to be an 80s game, but it hasn't developed on from that, which is a lot of games. So let's take Shovel Knight, for example. That is a classic example of a rejuvenation of the 80s platformer. And what it does is it innovates and it adds some more focus. It adds some more depth to the story, because one of the biggest problems with these games was that its story was always the weakest part. As well as that, the lack of proper upgrades, which, again, this game doesn't appear to have. Which is something that would help it if you could get upgrades and new weapons and abilities. Oddly enough, like a roguelike, which I talk about way too much. But yeah, there are many ways this could be an interesting game. But it's taken none of the chances to improve on its genre and to develop its ideas. Now, here's the thing. This is a sequel as well, which makes me very curious as to what the original was like. Because I'm guessing it would be even more bare bones than this was. But that is not a good thing in the slightest, but there we are. Right. Okay, so I'm going to end it there for today. Unfortunately, this is not a game I can recommend in the slightest. Let's see how much it actually costs on Steam. Destructivator 2 on Steam is currently... They are asking for £4.79. I do not believe it is worth that. Honestly. I don't know. I feel as if it could be later on, but I don't have any drive to go and play more of this game. I find it to be An incredibly shallow experience, to be honest, but there we are. Because even in Contra, if I remember rightly, you had different weapons you could pick up. There were upgrades available in there. That is something that this game is so sorely lacking. Oh dear. It's not one I can recommend at all, unfortunately, but there we are. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I'd like to hear what you think about this game down below from the looks of it. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And if you didn't enjoy this video, well, there's always a button for you as well, so don't forget about it. In any case, there we are. I've been Togglejam. This has been Destructivator 2, and I'll see you next time.